Hey guys, it's Hendo here. Just giving you a quick heads up, there is some swearing in this next conversation, but because of how amazing it is, we did not want to interrupt the authenticity of it. Now, with that being said, we hope you enjoy.
And I want listeners to listen to this sentence carefully. Any thought that I continuously hold in my mind will soon seek expression through some practical means.
Got people making Instagrams helping people.
Fuck, who needs me? You got AI, right?
I have an amount of discomfort or displeasure in my life that could probably be addressed, and that's I'm kind of voicing this as I'm feeling this right now.
This is the morning shift.
Shift Nation, I'm about to introduce our next guest, and I'm really excited, but I want to get through this intro first. Today's guest is the man behind some of the New Zealand's biggest winners you have heard of, but you might not know his name. He's the mental performance coach trusted by world champions and high performers, from Lydia Ko on the golf course to Israel Adesanya in the octagon, to CEOs, founders, and everyday Kiwis just trying to get an edge in life. From a converted garage in West Auckland, West Side, we started in a garage too, bro. He spent the last few decades helping people build unshakable confidence, rewire their self-talk, and perform without fear. He calls himself a meat and potatoes coach. Simple, straight up, results-driven, and his new book, The Winning Mindset, takes that same playbook and hands it to the rest of all of us. I'm so excited to have you here, Big Dave.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me in, and I apologise because you sent the invite a while ago.
Yes.
And it must have just got caught up in my spam, or for some reason I was looking for it, and I saw it. I went, oh no.
Let's start there. So
Yeah.
So I watched. I can't remember where I saw it. I was scrolling on my timeline. I see you talking. I can't even remember who to, and I was like, is this fella a Kiwi? I was like, who's this guy? This guy's saying stuff that I'm connecting with. So then I reach out. That was in June.
Oh, was it?
That was that was in June. So for a timeline to our shifters listening, I get a text message 2 weeks ago, just under 2 weeks ago, and it's Big Dave, and I'm, when you get a random number and you're trying to figure out what the context is.
Yeah.
No beating around the bush. I get a FaceTime call from Big Dave here, and I'm thinking, man, FaceTime. That's kind of
Is that old school?
That's forward. But at the time, guys, we were doing a show, and I was wearing a Rey Mysterio mask. And I'm just thinking it's someone that I could. I'm thinking is it the courier dropping off a parcel? I'm thinking this is something I can get away with. I answer the call. Big Dave's looking at me like, "Who the hell are you?"
I don't think that's what I said actually.
So then, we have a great convo. You obviously say, "Look, I can make some time for the podcast." We love that. Then again, I'm getting confused. A couple of days ago, I've just installed aircon in my house. I think that I'm making a payment, so I'm messaging the guy. I accidentally messaged Big Dave, and Big Dave going, "Mate, what are you on about?" He FaceTimes me again. I'm like, "Oh my God."
But you know what was interesting? Because I had a client, Jordan, who was looking at making a payment. So I'm going, "Mate, you've sent the freaking email. Pay it, man." And then I realised at the top it was, no, that's not the same Jordan.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Hey, here we are. And I'm excited for this conversation today because what I'm passionate about and why I actually started the podcast, and I don't like calling us podcast. I feel like we're a show, but we're going to have fun. We're going to laugh at what's funny.
Yeah.
But when it's time to get to the meat and potatoes, we're not afraid of that. And my heart, we do a lot of cool things here, but if I'm really honest with our shifters right now, our audience, where I feel alive is when a bro will pull me aside and say, "Hey, remember that? You won't know this, but that time you talked about that changed my day. Helped me with my kids. Made me think about how to try and be a better dad. Made me realize those quiet moments." And you'll have this too, where I enjoy men complimenting men because there's kind of this veil there that they know they're pushing through.
Yep.
Like, you probably hear it all the time, bro, but just wanting to kind of give you that space to honor you and kind of what you're doing. And so for me, the magic of what we get to do here is to try and help people help themselves,
So on that, one of the biggest needs of an individual is simply to be affirmed and acknowledged. That costs you nothing. And it's so easy just to give a compliment to someone and affirm something positive.
See, I know that to be true because my mum fostered a culture of that in our home. And she, don't get me wrong, my mum and dad weren't about empty compliments, but it was that I would watch them honour others.
Yep.
And at the right moment, you know, that was kind of a culture in my household. So I learned how to get comfortable with that. But it is something that not everyone feels comfortable with.
Well, I think the challenge is sometimes we get confused with the virtue of being humble. And I'm all for being humble in the appropriate time, but I think it's also very important to be selfish in the sense that you honour yourself and that you allow yourself to accept, you know, that acknowledgement. Because I think today we're dismissive of it. You know what I mean? And I think there's, we've got to learn how to take compliments and take it for what it is. And if it's genuine from the heart, it's something very important. You know, I think I love complimenting people because I know it makes a difference in their day, their life, you know. But it's got to be justified.
Absolutely.
You know, just give it flippantly. It's got to be earned, yeah? So, I was just sort of thinking too, and we were sort of talking before we started, and you mentioned something about, you know, how do we build resilience, you know? Should we go a little bit deeper into that? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Can we we're going to have a chat today, right?
Yeah,
I don't
it's
have an
conversation.
itinerary,
No,
so
no.
I don't want the pressure to feel like you guys need a 5-point system for you to take all these amazing points and then change your life tomorrow. Yeah. If you take if a little seed drops today, cool, but I don't want that pressure. Before we get into resiliency, I'd like to unpack humility a little bit.
Okay.
Because and I don't know if this is linked to Tall Poppy in any way. I don't know if this is linked to any ideas that we have in this country bespoke to kind of how we are in our culture.
I think it's cultural, yeah.
What is your definition of humility? And do you think there's an issue in this country how we frame it?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a bit to unpack there.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I think. I believe that being humble to a certain point can lead to a point where you become subservient to the mass. Now, let me explain. Nietzsche talked about this when he talked about the 3 transitions. Here we go into philosophy.
I love it.
We're going deep.
I love it.
So we talked about society as represented by the dragon, right? And each one of the scales of the dragon is thou shalt, right? And Nietzsche talked about a transition. Now, where most people start is where they stay, and that is the camel. And the camel says yes to the dragon. It can carry heavy loads. And it's subservient to society. And in order to break free from that, you have to become something powerful. And so Nietzsche talked about the transition to that of the lion, because the lion has the roar and says no to the dragon. It can challenge it. The last transition, which is kind of the weirdest one, but it's so beautiful, is that of the child. And the child is fearless. A child is curious. A child has
conditioned yet.
Absolutely. And so we are conditioned to be humble to the expense of oneself. I have an affirmation I give to my clients, which is I, and then your full name, am undoubtedly proud of myself. Pride is we've been told that it's a vice, when actually it's a virtue, because you value yourself. You're looking with a little bit of, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I love that. I'm just my mind's back at the camel,
Yep.
subservient to. So, to contextualize this, so
think about the dragon, right? Now we talk about culture. Now I want to make it really clear. I don't want to upset anyone, but I'm going to go somewhere that we need to discuss. Now, part of it is in, for instance, Christian faith. We are subservient. We're told, aren't we, to be humble. Because if you're humble, then you're controllable and you become subservient to the dragon. Now, the dragon represents any dogmatic authority. So it can be the church, it can be the government, it can be whatever. Now, I'm not saying that you want you to be a rebel, but all I am saying is that in order to ultimately transition to complete happiness, you have to start questioning. Now, Izzy talked about this when he took the Hellberg Award, and we have tall poppy syndrome. Now, what was interesting, I'm watching him speak, and you have some people there mesmerised going, yeah. And then you got others going, isn't it interesting? I think fundamentally we tend to attack things we fear. And when you have someone like Izzy who is fearless, we not so much other people put him on a pedestal. He has undoubtable belief in self.
grounded, earthed, and the personal journey. Absolutely.
Right. So in order for you to achieve whatever you want in life, you have to be grounded in the fact that you have undoubtable belief in self. Now, how do we go about creating that resilience and that belief? Well, you have to walk through the path and experience fear, experience the things we fear. Carl Jung said, where fear lies, there lies your task. What are you fearful of? Because we naturally attack those that are high performers.
And we negate the fact, we like to dismiss the fact that they also show up in their lives with an immense amount of data that is able to convince themselves of what they're saying.
Absolutely,
Right,
yeah. Through their lived experience.
Like Izzy had done well over 10,000 hours on his craft as a martial artist.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, but if you're looking at that from the sense of you're just some dude who won a championship recently, and now you're talking whatever you want, it's that whole thing.
And it's so nuanced, mate, because this world today, it's almost like, you know, we take facts as facts, and it's bullshit. Even the media, you know this, even the media. The narrative is manipulative, misinformation and disinformation. So I think sometimes you've got to be able to be critical with your thinking, and we all have an unconscious bias built in. So you know we like to resonate with a narrative that suits our belief systems and values.
Absolutely. Coming back to humility, I think what we were discussing was not that humility itself is bad, but I think by way of definition and how people define it, I think that creates some work. Where you're talking to around the culture and us being village people and religious people, I think, you know, this is, I know a lot of, I know me for a while in my life before I had to look at it from a different position, and I think a lot of the friends that I grew up with, humility was really about it was really this kind of two opposing ideas of trying to get ahead, trying to be successful, but making sure you're not seen, or even just being quiet about it. Like humility is a volume thing too. Like if I'm just quiet about it, I'm just trying to be quiet.
I can go under the radar.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be quiet.
Yeah.
And that also if you have that world view, it's also, I guess, we have to empathize with the fact that a lot of these historical ways that we lived, let's say before religion, being you know, having an ecosystem of ideas and thoughts from the islands, that worked there. That worked where we were, you know. We were able to live off. We didn't have these other concepts from the Western world. And so now when I'm like, removing ourselves from that context to New Zealand, and New Zealand becoming what it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's just challenging how we think about things. And I think for me, what I've tried to define humility is being proud of myself.
Yes.
And acknowledging that I didn't do it alone, you know?
Yeah.
But then that's sometimes a mask too,
Well,
right?
yeah,
because it's
yeah.
like, oh, I didn't do it alone.
Like I said,
Am I
it's
proud of
so
myself?
It's so nuanced, man. I mean,
it is.
you know, it's one of those things where, like, I'm very humble when it's appropriate. But there are times, like, for instance, you know, when I deal with high performance athletes, right, or company leaders or whatever. In a position of leadership, sometimes there is a time to be humble and a time when it's just not appropriate. When you're about to hop in that ring, I mean, come on, man. You have to be. You need to have that Ubermensch, that alter ego. You need to be more than all your parts with a focused attention on the task at hand. So I think you can still be humble, but like I said, it's the deployment of the strategy and the contents of the requirement of the environment you're in.
Absolutely. I love that. I love talking about this stuff. I want to share you a quick story before we get into building resiliency, and I don't know how the points completely relate. I've shared this on the podcast, so I'll tell a paraphrase story, but I don't like, on a plane, if I'm in the middle seat, I don't generally like talking to people. It's not that I'm rude. If they talk, I'll chatter, but I like to just be in my own zone and mind my business.
In the middle?
Well, I got a middle seat on this flight. I get in the middle seat. This old guy, he's dappered up. I can tell because his handkerchief's the same as his bracelet. Put together. So I'm thinking, my assumption is like, I wonder how this is going to go. He probably missed out on the first class seat or something like that. He makes room for me, and then he says, boom, I can't wait to get Pake, man. I can't wait to get home and see my mokopuna. Shows me his phone. I'm like, oh, here we go. This guy, did he say mokopuna for me, or like is he?
Trying to be culturally sensitive.
I love it though. Hey, he said it correctly, so I'm like, hey, let's go. Anyway, end up having an amazing conversation that stayed with me for a couple of weeks. He is a professor at Auckland University. Wow. He's studied psychology. And I said, so what's your work now? Tells me was in Wellington to actually speak at a conference. He said, well, I have the best job where I go around the world, and when severe catastrophe happens, a tsunami, or he helps children
deal with it.
Helps with rehabilitation, deal with the emotional fatigue they're going through, all of that. So I'm like, he's cracked it. You know what I mean? He's found a purpose. And you can see he's probably, I think he was early 70s. Sparkle's still in his eye for life.
Absolutely.
And you can feel it in the way he talked. I asked him about his family. We end up discussing mental health. I asked him this question. I said, Professor, what are your thoughts on the conversation for quote unquote mental health has come a mile since I was in high school. Especially since my dad was in school, especially since I was a young son, what I was allowed to unpack, what we now unpack between our relationship now, that's the awareness. So where's the disconnect? Because the statistics are still on a downward trend.
It's shocking.
So where's, and he said, that's an amazing question. And he said, I know studies that say raising awareness doesn't always have doesn't move the dial on the outcome necessarily at all. And it's been something that I've been thinking about more because, and it's not to slight any campaigns. We're in Movember right now. It's not to speak. I just feel like the way I look at the world now, I'm like, okay, we've done the awareness thing. And maybe we need to continue doing that. We have a saying. We sign off every podcast, and I say, "Check on your people." That's my that's my kind of ethos. At an arm's length is where we create the most change. But how do we? I've talked about just quickly. I've talked about things on this podcast, and I'm inundated with DMs, man. When you know, and I feel like this urge of like, man, I don't know how to help.
So
all
can
of
I
Yes.
can I enter, because I
Absolutely.
get itching to go, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the thing, and again, I think part of it is that we've come from a collectivist perspective, which is not right or wrong, but it's interesting. Here's I have the first premise, right? And that is, I am, and you are, the most incredible project you'll ever work on, because you've been given the gift of life. Now, whether you're a religious person or not, so where I sit, I'm an existentialist. I believe we're thrown in this world. We don't get to choose our parents or circumstances, and we die and we pass. But in that time frame, we have been given the gift of life. And so the beautiful thing, and people will debate because people say, everything's determined. I think it's bullshit. I believe we have free will. And I believe that if everyone had the premise that I'm the most incredible project to work on, and understand that everyone is served different challenges, right? As much as there's reports and stories of people that have come from a socio-graphic economic situation, a majority of the stories are negative and depressing, there's always stories of brilliance. And for me, it's taking absolute responsibility to go and be honest with yourself and go, what the fuck do I want out of life, right? Now, I'm going to tell my story, and believe me, mine's not dramatic or a victim, but I had some challenges. Young Palangi at Wesley College.
Did you go to Wesley?
I went to Wesley, bro. Fuck.
Bro, I get that reference. I'm there.
Right?
I'm there. Bro,
Right.
I'm fully there. I used to think talk in high schools, I had to go to Wesley to talk. I understand.
Yeah, bro.
I got you.
Mate,
You went to Wesley?
I'm a boarder at Wesley College, right? One of the few Palangi motherfuckers there. I'm this skinny little fella, right?
But I liked you before. Why do I just love you now, brother?
Bro.
Like,
So
I get- yeah.
now I love. In fact, I got married at Wesley College Chapel. I love the college, but I got bullied big time, and I'm not just verbally, physically. Now, as Nietzsche said, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. How do we build resilience? By putting ourselves in fucking uncomfortable positions, face up to the fears. All right, so I'm bullied, and I remember, and I've written about it in my book, that I got to a point where it wasn't so much the hidings I hated, it was the fact that I was giving my power away. I hated the fact that I was scared. And I knew that you had to have a bit of fucking courage in life, right? If you want to be resilient, it means facing the things you fear. You can't soften it. I mean, resilience today is no, Johnny, don't. It's not. Fuck. You can't. I have a style which is not everyone's cup of tea, I know. So I remember the one guy in particular who would always take I told about the biscuit story. So you get parcels, and someone took my biscuits every time. And I remember, I had enough. So I smacked this guy clear in the chin with everything I had. Now, seriously, I would have weighed about 57 kg, so it was like a mosquito bite. You just slapped me. No, I mean, I punched you, man. But, then he gives me a hiding. But he never touched me again. But that was significant for me because I taught myself something and I taught him something. Now, like I said, the premise is you are the most magnificent project you'll ever work on. Now, how do I go about resilience? Well, start identifying the things that scare you. Where fear lies, there lies your task. For me, there were 3 specific things. One was the bullying. I made a promise to myself that I was never going to be bullied again. How do I go about changing that? I'm going to be the biggest, strongest motherfucker I can be, right? And I remember...
Deficit drive.
So here I am. I'm obsessive. I went... My first train in the gym was with one of the props at Wesley College. I remember we were bench pressing, and I fell in love. I knew that this was the key for me. So I'm obsessive. So I went from that to the extreme. I made a promise to myself to be the strongest man in the country. And I ended up telling my mates, and they were going, full of shit, man. Tall poppy syndrome? You're dreaming, man. 10 years later, I was on the New Zealand Strongest Man circuit. And the first event, I forget which year it was, I was leading the New Zealand Strongest Man. Truck pull, right? So here's the thing. Any thought that I continuously hold in my mind will soon seek expression through some practical means. That was the first thing. The second thing was I was at school, I'm dyslexic. So I'm in the bottom class at Wesley, right? And that's a struggle, bro. You can imagine, right? All the dumb fucks are in my class. And because you constantly get that information, you start attaching an identity to that negative narrative. He struggles. He's not that bright. And so you start to identify with that. So for me, the people that I admired were the guys up on stage, the people that were either you're a sports star or you're an intellectual. Me, I'm just the guy at the back of the classroom chewing up paper and going, and piss off, Niethe. You know what I mean? Yeah. Annoying everyone. Because what's the point? I left school, Wesley College, with no qualifications. I'm dyslexic. I only found out when I was 21. So the last thing for me is academia, because, again, where fear lies, there lies your task. For years, I identified as this dumb fuck. So basically when I was printing, I left school, got a job as a printer, and I do work on the doors in the old nightclubs. I mean, great for picking up a few chicks, but, but you're dealing with drunken idiots. And that's where I used to get excited about overtime. Here I am today. I'm just finishing my degrees. I went back to Massey University. I've just maintained my last philosophy paper. I've maintained an A- average. Did I have to work hard? Hell yeah, man. I worked my ass off. You can imagine. I remember my first ever essay. I'm 50. That was the only time that I had. With the business taking off, I had time to study, and I knew I needed extra time as being dyslexic. I think it was Clint Eastwood said something profound in one of his movies, and he said, "Man's got to know his limitations." I knew that I needed the extra time, so I did it part-time. And I remember getting my first essay score, and I got a B. I was so happy. I actually burst into tears.
What about that made you emotional?
Because in that moment, I had overcome 50 years of history that I believed in, which allowed to define me, right? So, again, this is really important. A belief, by definition, is something I hope is true. And some of those belief systems either contribute or contaminate. So through self-awareness, and again, you've got to understand you're the most incredible project you'll ever work on. You have to be honest with yourself and go, what are those belief systems I currently hold that I need to challenge? Because a belief doesn't necessarily mean it's the fucking truth. So when you start investigating that and then attack it, that's how you build resilience.
I love it. I love it, bro. I love it. You know, one thing that's playing through my mind as you speak is that I find, you know, I don't know if you can completely blanket and say we have a society these days, but where people are more willing to try and bend things they can't control.
People put more time and effort into reinforcing their victim story than they do about getting off their ass and making change. Because today I can post and everyone goes, oh. We reinforce the victim story.
And you know, when you say that, what I hear is that you're a deeply empathetic man.
Yeah.
You're a deeply emotional person.
Yes.
Who understands nuance and
Yep.
trauma.
Yep.
And to be able to walk through someone and say that was flipping wrong, it should never happen.
Yep.
But what you're also saying is, in your experience and in your work,
Mm-hmm.
this attitude of having to push through is the only thing that gets people through.
You have to face it. It's fucking awful because every part of your senses is telling you, fuck no. The amygdala gets triggered, your physiology goes, you shake, But that is the gift. On the other side of fear is a better version of you. You know, I talk about, there's a little saying, if you want to walk on water, first you got to step out of the boat. And that, like I said, you got to investigate, what are those fears? What are those limiting beliefs? I get people to and I'll call you out on your bullshit, because basically what it is that it's almost becomes unconscious, and we start creating this narrative that is reinforced in language, and the brain is a predictive machine. And so you constantly, oh yeah, I really tried hard. You know, I'm trying all the time, Dave. And I'll go, okay, so let's just look at the linguistics here. And I'll go, hey, listen, I want you to try and pass the phone to me. And they'll, what? No, seriously, try and pass the phone to me. And the first thing they'll do is they'll pick up the phone and pass it to me. And I'll go, no, you're not fucking listening. I said to you, I want you to try and pass the phone to me. No, pass it again. So what did you just do? I passed it. So sometimes we've really got to be aware of the CD that is represented in our constant language. You'll say something like, oh, this always happens. I always stuff it up. It reinforces that negative bias. And we feed the animal. And then because the brain's predictive, it will find evidence to support what it is that you've programmed. So when you get to a point of self-awareness and start to understand that part of it is not just in action but language, and you're applying them. So I talk about your attention and intentions align, which affects behavior. Is your behavior congruent with that vision? You behave your way to success. The behavior is the key, not the intent or the thought.
Behavior.
Absolutely.
How would you, for those listening right now, that, and we've all been there, you know, you hear things, this is what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, man, tomorrow's going to be a different day.
Yeah.
You know, and hey, look, moments create momentum, right? You need
absolutely.
it. You need it. I'm a big firm believer in that.
Yes.
But for someone and the right type of person that's listening to this and they're going, man, this is speaking to me. And
and it's about taking action. And the other key thing is accountability. Accountability will set you free. Because as you were mentioning before, yes, it's very easy to get motivated. And motivation is what's initially needed to start the action process. But it's the commitment of the behavior over a period of time that develops the habits, which those habitual behaviors put you on the right path.
Absolutely. I'm interested, what do you say, or what's your thoughts? I don't even know if you have clients like this, but, I don't have anyone. Or like, it's always kind of like
another fucking excuse. What did I just fucking say about you being the most incredible project you'll ever work on? That means I want someone to hold my hand. Fuck off. Does Izzy go, can I bring in Eugene and the boys into the rink so that we can have, 3 against 1? What the
Yeah.
They have to sit behind the cage because you have to face this alone. That's the existentialist crisis. There is no sugarcoating this. Step up, get out of bed, blame, excuse, and denial. Take ownership, accountability, and responsibility. It's tough. It's hard. It is necessary. There are no other ways. Step up.
Absolutely. I'm just letting this wash over us, guys, by the way. These pauses aren't for effect. All right? They're so that they affect you. I'm not trying to help the masses today. I'm trying to help the few people that they like, you know what? I am done with my excuses.
Yeah. So I would suggest one of the key things is...
Yeah, where do people start?
Yeah, sit down, right? Spend some time by yourself and go, okay. I always say to people, start with the end in mind.
You know what's... Can I stop?
Yes.
I've realized that's something that I've struggled with recently.
Yeah.
I'm in a good season right now, man.
Yeah.
I'm in a wicked season.
Yeah.
But I came through a very difficult one.
Yeah.
And what I've realized about being in a good season is that it was so foreign to me that I actually realized I don't actually know what I long for. And then I sat down and I was like, well, kids are happy, partner's amazing, I'm healthy, man, food in the cupboard. These things actually do bring me joy.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, is it a mask? Because I really have a deep fear of failure.
Okay.
Right? And my thing is always under promise on myself so I can over deliver and act like it's an accident.
It's fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing.
Yes.
Do we agree that ideally, majority of the time, we want to be happy?
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. But we're also intelligent enough to know that that's not always going to be the case. Now, the beautiful thing about when it's not the case is that in order to understand and appreciate happiness, you need a frame of reference because you wouldn't know that you are. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So sometimes the down is the gift to allow you to appreciate the highs.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's that thing said. All right, because that I
feel that and I know that
that is inevitable in life. Anyone who, you get those deluded. Oh God, I'm so happy about everything. It was just great. Kumbaya. You know what I mean? Fucking deluded on something. Do you know what I mean? As sure as you wake up, there's going to be challenges, and that in itself is expected. And we've got to embrace that because it is an opportunity. Now, going back to what I was saying earlier, always work with the end in mind, and that is dictated fundamentally by you based on what's important to you, your values, for instance, right? Now, a lot of people talk about values and they got no fucking idea what the hell that is. A value is a preference times a priority. What are your preferences in life and what are the priorities, right? So a preference would be to maybe game, right? But the priority is having a happy family, right? So it allows you then...
Say that again. Your value is preference times...
preference times a priority.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's deep.
Good. Let that drop.
Yeah.
I like that.
So when you align your values with your plan, what it does is that it holds you to account through that awareness with regards to your behavior. So in my office, I have a picture of a guy on stage with his hands up with thousands of people around them. I drew that in 1995, right? It's my reality. for me, what it represented wasn't so much being on stage talking as it was about being acknowledged for changing the lives of thousands and thousands of people. Because I want the best for everyone. It is the most incredibly rewarding thing. Now, for me personally, the other thing is freedom. Freedom above family. And you're going to go, what? Because some cultures is different. All right. But what I know is that when I live a life congruent with my values, and assuming that those values are justified in a positive, I mean, I value killing people. Not really a family man, are you? But when I live my life congruent with my values, and one of the most important resources for me when I say time, with freedom is time, I'm a better dad and a better husband because most of the time I'm congruent with that because I'm happy. I've designed my life, not lived life by default where most people sit. A lot of people in this podcast right now are sitting in a job they feel obliged to do because they seek security. Where does security in my value structure? Fucking nowhere. Freedom.
I'm having a moment here where, like how I have an amount of discomfort or displeasure in my life. That could probably be addressed, and that's I'm kind of voicing this as I'm feeling this right now. That really is. That really, I'm just realizing how much that is, considering I haven't actually figured out what the end goal of. I haven't started from the start, so I don't. I'm like, man, I should be losing weight. I should be doing this more.
Give me both,
but I don't. But at the same time, I actually don't know what that looks like for me, like what actually are my goals. But how much displeasure do I sit on each day? It's not a lot, but I mean, it's more way more than it should be.
Sometimes the worst place to be, there's a thing called motivational filtering systems. Either you move in away or towards. The worst place to be is comfortable. And I think that's where most people sit. As long as I'm comfortable, I can tolerate and I'll live a life less than the one that I truly want because, I'm under the radar.
Another thing that hit me too was, what really does it look like for me?
Yeah.
Because most of
your values,
my happiness is like, I do want my partner to be happy.
Absolutely.
And I've got a good one, bro. She's awesome.
I'm coming up 30 years marriage next year.
I love it.
My best friend.
Honestly, I want the kids to be happy. Yeah. And is there somewhere I need to really sit down personally and shape that out for me?
So here's what I always recommend. How many kids you got?
We have 4 together.
Okay, cool. As a family exercise, here's what I'd like you to do. 4 kids, so go and get 4 cork boards and 1 for you and the missus, all right? And as a family exercise, get a whole lot of magazines, colouring and stuff, whatever, and say, we're going to do a vision board, right? Now, ideally what I want is it to be sensory specific. So let me put this into a context. 2 stories. First one, Lydia Coe, 8 years of age. Now, she worked with the end of mine because I told her, if you could not fail, what would you like to do? And she said, I want to be the greatest golfer. Okay. So on her vision board, she got Golf Digest magazine with Annika Sorensen holding the US Open, right? Annika Sorensen is a legend. She cut Annika's head off and popped her head on top of it. Now, 8 years later, it was reality. So here's the interesting thing, and I want listeners to listen to this sentence carefully. Any thought that I continuously hold in my mind will soon seek expression through some practical means. Israel Adesanya. superimposed the middleweight championship belt around a picture of him on his wall. He did that when he didn't even have a contract with the UFC. We have to, we go back to the dragon and it's programmed out of us. Don't be a dreamer. You dream big. And from there, like I said, there was a quote that I had. I truly believe you can manifest what you want, but there's also a certain level of intellectual accountability that is required in the behavior. Yeah, we behave our way to say. So what it does is that you align the intention with attention. When intention and attention align, it affects behavior. When you become congruent, fuck.
Yeah, and I mean that's you like I feel like so many people listening, like if they think about their attention is so on the displeasure. Because
Absolutely.
they haven't planned out and roadmapped where the intention should come from, right?
I tell you, one of the biggest killers is this. How people say to me, look, I haven't got time. Fuck, I tell you what, I put a hidden camera in your household for a month. I'd find plenty of time.
Come
no
on,
fucking
Big
excuses. Seriously,
No,
man. Look, I talk about life by design. Okay, so actually this year, at the end of this year, I've done very well. I've invested well. I've had a very successful 30-year run in this business, and I'm still going to continue to go because I love it. I'll be doing this when I'm 99. But I've created a life now because, again, I had a frame of reference. I remember when I used to get excited about overtime when I was a printer, right? That meant I was on like $11 an hour.
In the 40s, that would have been a lot, though, right?
We're going to cut as I... and we're back. Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, it was all proportionate, but it's still... I was a shit printer, and I was the worst paid, right? Far out, man. And I used to get excited, but to make ends meet, I have to work overtime. And I think a lot of people today are probably in that predicament. They're still having to ask for overtime, get overtime, find a way to survive. And there was a significant moment for me, a wonderful man that I worked with when I was printing called Joe. And he was a beautiful Cook Islander man. He was my boss on the press. And I remember the day we went back to the Dragon says yes. Joe was a yes man for the company. And I remember the boss saying, hey, Joe, I need you to work this weekend. And Joe just, yep, I'll be there, no problems, We'd sort of go 6 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at night, long days. And I remember later on, in the back of the reels, Joe's a very private man, is a beautiful man. And he was upset, and I could sense this. And I said, Joe, what's wrong? I thought something serious had happened. He went, it's my granddaughter's birthday, and I have to work. And I'm like, fuck, you don't have to fucking work. Say fucking no. But he was worried about security. That's fucked up. That's a fucked up way to think. And that really spurred me on to go, you know what? I'm going to grow some big hairy balls and go out on a limb. And I'm going to identify what the fuck I truly want in my life, right? And believe me, I had so many people going, mental psychology. Come on, Dave, you failed school, see? And the only reason you passed your apprenticeship was that you stole the answers off your mate sitting next to you. I mean, I got 51%. So you can understand why I was the worst paid bloody printer there. I hated it with a passion. But that put me on a path to design my life. What I love now is for the last 30 years, I've been seeing 16 clients a week. So when you think about it, I've been working 2 days. Now, Now this year I've done very well after 30 years, and I'm slowing it down a little bit more. I now only work 3 days a week. Now people go, oh, you're so lucky. I wish I had a life like that. And you know what I love is that there's this perception, you've been talented, you've got all this knowledge, you've got the amount of times when I was printing, I would come home from the press. I am an amazing wife. I'm tired, I shower, I eat, and then I went into my office to work at night and on weekends. For 3-4 years, I don't know how many hours, but I'm studying, I'm coaching, and I've got this vision to such a point that I could pivot. And I have a humble little home in Waterview. It's not west, it's central.
I hear you, man.
But I have a little garage. My little garage has produced some of the best athletes in this country. I pride myself on what I've done. Now, I'm going to say something that I'm going to say it reluctantly because my wife and I, like I said, there is a time to be humble. But one thing that I'm quite really proud of is that I also believe in charity and giving something back. And I've had a number of clients that I know can't afford me or organisations that need help. And I get great pleasure, whether it's working in athletics and, do seminars and sell tickets, and I just tithe all the money back. I believe in, I'm not a religious person, but I truly believe in giving something back because it comes back in other ways, but it's done with intention of heart. And I think I worked it out on my current rate. Joe and I, we have tithed back about $1.5 million in coaching and seminars over the last 30 years.
Beautiful.
I'm really proud of myself for that because that's something that in fact, there's probably only twice now that I've even talked about it because I don't think it's important. But I kind of, I think, people are very quick to sort of look at
Dismiss.
Yeah, and go, look, you must have had are you serious? I hadn't had any breaks. I don't come from a family with a whole lot of money. I struggled for everything.
People keep thinking that generational, we should only talk about it as it pertains to money.
Yeah.
Like when you have money, you have conversation, a level of conversation to ideas to get to. No, go see this bank. Go talk to this person. Go have this connection. Like it's not just money, right?
Man, I actually had to work my friggin' ass off. And that's, I think, part of the reason why, again, the struggle is the gift. That's how you build that resilience, man. And you have to keep digging, even though it doesn't seem like you're building momentum. You have to have a conviction to the vision. There was a great therapist, Charles Tibbetts. He came up with a formula, BICE, and it's belief plus imagination plus conviction plus expectation equals results. When you have an undoubtable belief in self, when you can imagine it and dream it, and you have a conviction to the behavior and a level of expectation, it's highly probable you're going to end up somewhere pretty close, if not beyond what you dreamt. And I love my life. The biggest thing for me that I'm really proud of is for the last 30 years, I've never had to be awoken by an alarm clock.
That's
that? And people that are factory workers,
do you just wake up with the daylight?
I wake up. I just wake up radiant. No, I just wait.
The sun wakes this guy.
Yeah,
Get
man.
the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
Nah,
what
I
the-
love it, bro. I love it.
But the thing is this,
love it.
I'm normally up at 6 a.m. Now, how I start my day, I wake up at 6, the usual procedure, shit, shave and shower. But then I'll go and read for an hour and a half. My wife's awoken and we have breakfast together and we have conversation. And then I start my day at 10.
Design.
And life by design. But here's the other thing too. I think it's very, very important and very powerful, and that is this statement, and that is, I give myself permission to live the way I choose and design. I think there's something powerful in that word permission. For those listening, permission is granted. Life by design.
That was beautifully wrapped up point there. I wanna go somewhere quickly.
Yeah.
I want to talk about drive.
Yes.
And again, I love that you started this talk with the word nuance, because often with these conversations, what we want is, here's a blanket for everyone.
Oh,
to
yeah.
stay
Here's
warm
a 5-step process.
Yeah. And it's just not. Depending on where you grew up, what your parents, everyone's different that's listening right here. Every single person. So
Absolutely.
I want to talk about drive for a second, because I was also thinking about, your will to go and be strong after your story. And I've heard about this concept called deficit drive. And just any thoughts you have on drive, but I have this particular story. I remember many years ago, a conversation that stuck with me with one of my close friends. He said, we kind of arrived at this place where his spirit was just tired. His mental was tired. And we unpacked it and got to the bottom of it. And this is someone who had, moved out of home early to be safer, put himself through uni, climbed up the ranks at work. And he's just phenomenal. Like, dude's got a 6-pack. Like, he's great married. And I'm not just saying, like, he's one of those guys where, man, you just want to speak the world of. And, we unpacked this, where he was at. And, it's really based in this idea that, his dad used to beat his mother up. And he got strong because of it. And then the day passed where she couldn't anymore and he could.
Yeah.
And the life that, he had grown up seeing that I'm never going to open my cupboards and my kids aren't going to have things.
Yeah.
It's, we're never going to be paying off debt. All of a sudden don't have money, so builds this wealth. And it's this drive. And I said, why do you think you're unhappy? And we get to the point where I'm just not angry at my dad anymore.
Yeah, it wears off.
You
What was used as fuel initially burns out. And that is when you need to reassess and align it in different ways.
Can you give any seeds?
Yeah.
There?
So,
because I think that's where a lot of people get to, right? They feel a bit fatigued, and they've had moments and seasons in their life where they're rocking on, and now they're a bit lost.
But that is a lived life, right? Like I said, it's almost, when we say that, it's premised on the fact that this shouldn't happen. It's like going, seriously, like it's about as unrealistic as going, listen, I'm not happy with the sun coming over in the east. Let's get this changed to the west, please. Well, you can fucking intend that until the cows come on. There's no fucking way it's going to happen, right? So, here it is. It's sort of like, it's the reality of the lived experience. You are going to go through this. What's important is how you take that experience and reframe it to serve you so that you continue on the path of, ideally, most of the time, have a level of happiness. What drove him initially was beautiful. But then it's sort of
You know
like...
what he actually said? His father passed.
Yep.
And he said, you know what I realized is I had to love my dad, but every day he was alive and he watched me be the man he couldn't, it's like I beat him up every day.
Oh, mate, success is the best revenge.
But then it's that kind of, there's a whole lot of emotions.
It served a purpose, but
now Papa's gone. It's like
now what? Where's my purpose now? Because that's what drove me. And again, let's go back to what I was saying earlier, motivational filtering systems. A lot of that was based on moving away from the history, right? And then you get to a point where he gets comfortable. And now he has to reinvent it with a new sense of purpose in moving towards something. And, you could, if he was with me, potentially I would say one of the things that we've got to identify is, how do we hold you to account to become the best possible father, grandfather for your family? Because if right now you're unmotivated, lost, that doesn't serve the family. Whether we like it or not, we still have a certain amount of responsibility. And it's understandable that you go through these challenging times, but this is where you've got to ask yourself a better quality question and go, you know what? Okay, I know that this state doesn't serve me. So at least I'm going to start asking some questions on to why, and potentially how do I get myself back on track, potentially with a new sense of purpose. And that purpose can be family, your children, your grandchildren. I mean, the one thing I'm looking forward to is being a granddad. Not just yet. Give it another few more years.
Do you ever unpack with people who are afraid to, sometimes their drive's linked to their trauma, so they have a bit of fear of letting that go, and what does that look like?
Here's the thing though. Again, I am not a counsellor, and it's not my scope of practice, so I don't think I'm justified to sort of comment on that.
I love that, Big Dave.
Yeah.
He's people who sit on the couch and will just try and answer it because I asked, but
no,
it's good.
No, well, like I said, a man's got to know his limitations, and I've made it really clear, the sort of clientele that I work with are already somewhat motivated to move in a direction. I just need someone to help nuance that and get them building the acceleration to it. But I also know my personality, I would be a failure as a counsellor because I'm like, fuck's sake, man. I just I don't have that sort of patience, and I know it seems a little arrogant, and I'm smart enough to know that I don't tolerate that, and to go down there and to work there would only upset me and them, and I wouldn't be doing quality work. So, it's interesting where I sit on the spectrum, and to the extreme we got psychiatry. That's when you can be medicated. And then you go up into psychology, which is counselling, etc. But where I sit is at the very far end of the spectrum in high performance. The clientele I work with are already functional to a certain point, with an intention to move in a direction, goals, aspirations, and that is where I want to sit. It's a very niche market. It's not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm really proud to say, I fundamentally pioneered mental performance in this country. I mean, over 30 years ago, I was alone, and now today,
got people making Instagrams helping people.
Who needs me? You got AI, right? And they've got far prettier with a better voice than me. But I've seen the industry change for the better and for the worse. I've seen a lot of people got into this industry purely because they wanted to make shitloads of money because you charge good money, and fuck, if that's your motivation, mate, that's fucked up. You've got to really have a passion to help people. I talk about intention of heart, not intention of wallet. And, you know, like I said, I've never advertised my business, man. It's all been referral. You know, 30 fucking years plus. And you know what's interesting? I feel like I'm just starting to get it.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Like I am far out. There is so much
Purpose
to unpack and learn. Oh my God. It's like I'm a child again. Nietzsche's final transition, eh?
Yeah.
I'm so fucking curious. There is not enough. I have a group of ladies, beautiful place called Lamplight Books, Parnell. Shout out to these girls. They are brilliant because I text them. I've got a fetish for books now, right? Mate, my wife. Oh fuck. God.
Any recommendations? Couple? Just anyone listening? Self-help. I know they'll. Yeah.
I know that there's a really good book out, The Winning Mindset.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
All I know is that there's a photo of a very handsome guy.
Also, that guy.
Just
Good looking.
Yeah, I found him quite attractive. I brought several books. Hopefully, you'll sign them for me. But I'll do a shameless plug here. I wrote that book, and I wasn't expecting to. But I think the feedback that I've had is that it's simple and easy to follow.
Love it.
Right? I'm not trying to over intellectualize the whole thing, right? I mean, look, let's face it. I'm a South Auckland
Wesley College
dropout.
Bro.
Right, mate, a guy, you know, even to this day, being dyslexic, I've really worked hard on my reading and writing. But even today, I've got to be so careful. People will say, can you sign the book? And I'll go, right, spell out your name really, really slowly. I mean, you know, think about this from a dyslexic sort of like philosophy. Okay, F-O, and then go. You put it in into your Word document, and it goes, "What's philo?" And then you go, "Okay, so I've got to. How do you spell? How do you spell when you don't know how to spell?" So you got to appreciate. As I went through my journey at university, the amount of times. And another dyslexic will probably appreciate, I get stuck on a word for like 20 minutes. But you have to persevere. No excuses, as Dave would say.
I love this chapter and you know, it's been intentional shifters for you to hear this conversation. We could have done this next year.
Yeah.
We could have done, but something in my mind and my heart knew was, I know a lot of people didn't have a year that you wanted to have. And actually last year, you said this year was going to be the year you wanted to have. And here we are in November, and you feel just as flat. And this is by design, this conversation. And it's not for everyone. It's for people that, to the point you're making, want to design their life. I love some of the concepts today we spoke through. Intellectual accountability, attention, meeting intention.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Affecting behaviour.
Beautiful. And the behaviours that actually change and get us to...
Well, that's what we measure. That's what we observe. You know, you can have all the intentions. I intend to pick up that phone, but unless I actually see you do it, you know, we behave our way to success.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Bro, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're the man. And let this corridor wash over you, shifters, and go back, revisit it. Start on 2026, whānau. What do you got to celebrate? Who needs presents? Yeah. Burn the Christmas tree down if you don't want to do it.
Hey, on Christmas. Do you know what I want for Christmas? Every year, all I want is macaroni pudding. I don't want presents. I don't need anything. I'm not. See, again, we're so materialist. Oh, fuck, I don't need anything.
But imagine tell the family.
Macaroni pudding.
This year, I'm actually my presence to myself because I'm the most important project.
Yeah.
You know?
So what are you going to do?
And that's when all your family beat you up now.
What's one thing for you personally that you'd take away from today that you think you can implement?
I know it. When you were talking, I was like, I have not started it. I've been surviving for a little while.
Yep.
Now I'm in a good season, and I think I'd like to just sit back and go, man, if everyone else is happy, then I've done my job. I've got a heart like that anyway. I love, the kids being happy, the home being humming, me and my partner unpacking what we want about the world and each, cordial between each other.
Yep.
What's something I want? What's something that I need to think about, and why have I convinced myself I wouldn't want for something?
So what is it that you want?
Man, I don't know, bro.
Well, put it to you this way. If you couldn't fail, absolutely could not fail, what would you attempt to do? Cannot fail. Go shopping.
You know what's crazy, bro? There's a little bit of a thread in what I'm doing now, and I have purpose in this.
Yeah.
But probably something of what you're doing, Like,
so in order to do that, what is it that you need to improve on or do to apply that?
probably some qualifications.
Yeah. So when you think of
I was getting less than B minus with no dyslexia.
So here's the thing. What behavior can you undertake today that starts the momentum which leads to the behavior?
I could look at the courses that are required. I
Correct.
could ask you.
Yes.
Like, right? So it starts at something macro.
Okay, so Jim Rohn talked about this. So much for finishing, eh?
No.
Hey.
We're right here.
Jim Rohn, one of the greatest motivational speakers, talked about 3 steps to greatness. Number 1, set goals. How does one set goals? What's the process? Well, let me tell you. SMART test. On your left-hand column, go SMART, right? So S stands for specific / sensory specific. The reason why it needs to be specific is that the brain processes so much information that it will use fuzzy logic, right? It'll do just enough, right? That's why we don't have reality per se. We don't have access to it because we'd be overwhelmed. So the brain is a predictive machine based on fundamentals of survival, right? So that's why you've got to be clear on what it is you want. Intention and attention aligned, right? So you've got to be specific. And the vision board is sensory specific. It reinforces what we have identified. The next is measurable. What are the measurables? Well, I need to get some qualifications, blah, blah, blah. A is for accountable. To whom am I accountable to make this happen? Because the biggest problem we have with a lot of people, they talk the talk, but they're procrastinators.
Correct.
Action is the true measure of intellect. Action is the true measure of intellect. Next,
What about all those tabs that I save on Instagram, though, of like all these great sound bites that I want to learn one day?
That's good too, right? The next is R for realistic. Got to be realistic with the process. However, we got to be unrealistic with the vision. Yeah? Unrealistic with the vision, realistic with the process. And then T for timeline, deadline. You got a timeline, you got a deadline, right? So it's a call to action. So that's what Jim Rohn talked about, set goals. Number 2, educate yourself. Every single person here. Now, again, the biggest gift that we have is our ability to seek and develop knowledge. But most people are fucking lazy.
Come on now.
They really are. Because I'll tell you this now, one of the most important investments you could ever make for your kids is to buy them each a bookshelf. and fill it with appropriate books. Educate yourself. And last is a financial plan, 10-10-10 rule, which is 10% reduce debt, 10% invest, and 10% give something back. Learn to live off 70% of your income. And then people go, oh, fuck, I am struggle as it is. I've been there. I've done that. I don't give a fuck. Even if you were, think about this, if there's someone out there who's good at maths, but if you managed, and again, I've said to people, look, if I had a hidden camera, I reckon I could find $5, $10, $15 a week. Don't fucking tell me you ain't got it. And if you really had to, you'd find it. But if you invested that each week for a period of time, over 35 years, from 25 to 65, whatever, at the end, what would you have? Now, I don't know what it is because I'm not a mathematician, but it'll be significant if we looked at investing it at 8%, right? But here's another example. What would you rather have? $1 million in cash right now on the table, or $1 that doubles every day for 30 days? Go and do your maths. It's ridiculous amount of money. Way more than $1 million. Way more than $1 million. And so it's the delayed gratification. People need to understand we're in a consumer world where we want shit now. We're fucking fundamentally lazy. We're not tenacious.
And not to make excuses, but to really, something needs to happen in our brains to really realize that. Like this, we didn't get here by accident of the phone becoming another.
So here's what I would challenge that. So think what you said. Something has to happen in our brains. So basically, there's your excuse. You're given that. It's not me. It's my brain.
What I mean, okay. I like
oh,
this.
Yeah.
I like this because fundamentally, I 100% agree with you. It's this whole. This is a. Yeah, I mean it is an excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we just finish there?
Nah, yeah. You know. But
again, this is what I'm talking about with people. You cannot change anything you don't first acknowledge. You know, we come up. People put more time and effort into creative excuse making than they do about facing the storm.
You know, I wanted to just have it out with you just then and just give you the coolest way.
Yeah, bring it on.
Of like saying no, but if we what I wanted to do, I wanted to set it up and then be like, no, but we've got to overcome that. It's like, just shut up and focus on overcoming it.
You know, like, none of this is fucking
What about
hard.
the algorithms, Dave?
Yeah, what do you know? You're not a neurobiologist.
30 years ago, they didn't have phones like this, you know.
I mean, seriously, you know, and this is the wake up that I get with clients. It's like, fuck off. Fuck.
Oh,
you know, people go, oh, yeah, but you don't know how hard it is. No, I fucking don't. I'm not living your life. But I'll tell you this. You tell me your victim story and I'll get someone who's in a worst case scenario who's gone out and done something. So I'll trump your story. It's an awakening. I'll tell you again, you cannot change anything you don't first acknowledge. So when you start to acknowledge it, and that's uncomfortable, you know, for me, because the brain's predictive, I'm told that I'm not that smart. So my prediction for my future is based on those belief systems, that sense of identity, and the best that I could do would be I can get overtime and make money, right? Because, you know, someone said to me, oh, you're going to be a multi-millionaire. They go, fuck. I mean, even I laugh at myself going, are you fucking joking? All I do is put ink in an ink duct. I just don't make sure I don't spill it. That's what I'm fucking qualified to do. But when you start challenging it, as much as it's scary, I pride myself on going from $1.20 an hour. In some cases, I charge 10 grand for an hour. It's a tough hour. and now it's sort of like, okay, so how do I make that 100,000 an hour? You know, I've sat down. My wealthiest client is a billionaire. How they think.
Work it.
Work
it.
And
Wesley College, man.
Everyday people like you and me. I'm sitting there with this man and his wife. Down to earth. Humble beginning. Yeah. But fuck the rules. Yeah. You know, like I said, you know, we have all these belief systems, and it's almost like our expectations are based on the collective around us.
Yeah.
You know, all my mates are doing well. They're playing rugby on Saturday.
My family did this.
Yeah. And so we settle for that. That's a cop-out. Again, go back to the first premise. You have been given the gift of life. Your responsibility is to be the best you can be and all you can be. How do I go about doing that? Have a look at where you're fearful. Oh, for me, like I said, I will keep going with my education. Who knows? I might end up being Dr. Dave. Dr. Dave's in the house. But I just...
Doctor, fuck off.
Get the fuck out of here. Fucking hard enough. It's Dr. Concrete. Everyone's got a free teaspoon.
He got a doctorate just to be able to tell you that I have a certificate that I can say.
I got a certificate and harden the fuck up. But, you know, it's sort of like, man, that's a life lived. You know, I think of that guy who got the tattoo, no regrets. I'm going to have no regrets, man. You know, I look on my life and I kind of pinch myself and going, fuck, that's pretty cool, man. What's heartwarming is when you get letters, emails, notes from parents and children going, thank you. You know what's, maybe I'm showing my age now, what's interesting is I am now coaching the children of some of my original clients. So
did the first one not work? No,
he fucked up with me, but God, we've got to have hope, don't we? Maybe he's improved by now. He's finally finished the book. He knows how to read. Yeah. Psychology for Dummies. So yes. I still can't fucking find it. There's nothing in this. This fucking library's fucked up. But that's the journey, and the like I said, the reality is, yes, there's going to be challenges as sure as the sun comes up. But when you have that tenacious resolve, you will fight your way through all that. And on the other side, look, you know, you wake up. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of the man I've become. And I think that's probably the ultimate affirmation. I'm proud of me. Absolutely. In fact, if I was a chick, I'd probably date me. But you know, we got to be humble, eh? Shifters. You take the piss out of myself, mate.
I really believe there's a reality out there years from now when the morning shift podcast is but a whisper, but someone will be able to say, man, I heard this talk one day with Big Dave, and I decided that I can design the life I want. Yeah. And I went and listened back to it, and I sounded crazy, and I tried to show it to 5 people, and they said it was average, but it bloody worked for me. And I went and wrote out the SMART goals, and I got out 4 corkboards. Yes. And I'm living a life based off that conversation. Yes. I hope this is I put that out into the world. Yeah. And Big Dave, your time is important. You know why it's important? Because you chose to be here today. You know, we're not a client. we're not paying for this. This is a service back to us.
What?
So we really appreciate it, bro.
I've already emailed these. You know when I was saying 10 grand? And I was hoping to go $100? It's here!
Well, there's about 30,000 people that listen to this, so y'all pay $1 in the synopsis.
You know what? To finish with, though, the only true way to happiness, I think, is to help others get what they want whilst you're taking responsibility for yourself. So if we can share this in a way that resonates with just a few people and they take action, again, I would encourage anyone, share your action steps through this community of what you have in the podcast. Is hold each other to account for that, update each other, share that vision, encourage, build a community that supports this, and which is what you've already done here. So congratulations, man.
Thank you, brother.
This is The Shift. The Shift.
Go home, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go home.
The Morning Shift.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can refuse.
The Shift.
I love you.
This is The Shift.
Got him.
Okay.